Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and we are just now reaching the very end of Mahakam. If we take a look at our map here, we have basically the main quest here and possibly one point of interest just in front of it, as that is, I think, oftentimes been the case. This is technically an entirely separate thing right here, but there is also the Nilfgaardian camp over here and some loot right next to it, but that is just about the only other thing that we know of on our map that we still have remaining. Lots of shrines, and there's always a chance that we might have missed a hidden chest somewhere. I'm especially suspicious of, I think, in between this chest and this whole Blackbrook Vale area, we really didn't run into any additional chests until we got all the way down here. So that does make me a little nervous that we might have missed something somewhere in this general vicinity. But outside of that, we have this point of interest where we can potentially trade a large sum of gold for a small sum of wood, which, if it's not urgent, probably won't opt to do that. And then there was the place over in town here where we invested 2,500 gold to maybe earn some returns, and haven't seen anything pop up there. I am kind of curious to see, even if there is no point of interest marker here, if we were to double back, is there a chance we might be able to get some kind of reward? Again, we kind of understood that we were taking a big chance there, and it might have just been us throwing away money, but given how we were going to lose all of our money later on over here from the avalanche anyway, maybe it didn't matter all that much anyway. So, I think at the very least we'll be going to see what the deal is with these Nilfgaardians now. As we said before, Bruver has warned us, has said, if you mess with them, then I'm definitely not going to be happy. And again, don't really understand how exactly Bruver makes those calculations as to, does he like us? Does he not like us? It feels like we've done a lot more positive things than negative things, but are some things more significant than others? Because if so, it feels like this one could be possibly the single most important thing for us not to mess with. So, although I don't really want to pick a fight with the Nilfgaardians, and there's a chance just going over there alone will trigger an unavoidable situation in which we are required to do something to, well, possibly fight or kill them. I guess we're gonna go there just to see what it's all about. My hope is that we can choose a more neutral / peaceful option, and it will probably make some people unhappy with us on our team, perhaps lower morale, but I think in the name of making sure that we don't at the last second make Bruver mad at us, it's probably still worth doing, especially because if the low morale is the only hit that we take, we still have an abundance of shrines all over the place that we have saved up. And so I just double-checked, we actually have not gotten the achievement, and there is one, for I think it was praying at 10 shrines. I'm a little surprised about that, because, I mean, sure, there's a decent number of shrines in Lyria and in Eddern. I would have thought it would have been 10, maybe we didn't quite get to 10, but it makes me a little concerned that maybe when we're praying at shrines, even when we're at maximum morality, perhaps that just doesn't count for the achievement for some reason, so I'm hoping that's not the case. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So let's at least head over to the Nilfgaardians. Basically, my hope here is that it is not like that encounter we saw where we were going to be forced to either have Rayla leave, or if we still had Ache, then him leave. Because if this is one of those lose-lose situations and there's no way out of it, and the best way is to just completely avoid it altogether, then obviously we're walking into a bit of a trap here, but we'll see. So this is where we've heard the Nilfgaardians are, and again, they were supposedly the ones behind launching that avalanche at us by blowing that horn when we were right at the foot of the mountain. So they knew what they were trying to do, and as I've said previously, the whole Mahakam / Bruver stance of, well, we're totally neutral, never mind the fact that we just allowed the Nilfgaardians to attempt to murder the queen of 2 of the Northern Realms, which is just so far from neutral that even if they claimed ignorance, the fact that Meve would have died on their territory would have started a humongous conflict. So, yeah, it just makes no sense. And as I've started to say, you know, the writing in the latter half of Mahakam, with Bruver specifically, has, I think, taken a bit of a nosedive. But just because of that hypocrisy, but we'll see what happens here.
Whispered one of the scouts.
Left of the path.
Meve squinted. The Nilfgaardians had taken shelter from the falling snow under a rocky outcropping. The smell of roasting meat wafted from their campfire, and echoes of laughter could be heard. The black-clad soldiers had reason to celebrate. They had just decimated Meve's company without even drawing their weapons.
Do they think Meve is dead? Do they know Meve is still alive, or are they just celebrating because they think that they've given us a significant setback, which I suppose is still true. But it's one thing if they think they've killed Meve and Meve is in fact still alive. It's another thing if they're like, oh yeah, might not have taken her out, but at least at this point, she's not going to pose much of a threat anymore.
Meve's gaze caught something else. A metal container into which the Nilfgaardians tossed bones once they'd been gnawed clean. It looked strangely familiar. Only after a moment did the Queen understand it was an overturned Lyrian helmet dug out of the snowy grave of one of her men.
The whoresomes.
Meve hissed.
They'll pay for this.
Yeah, kinda saw something like this coming where this is the inspiration, if we didn't already have reason enough to try to attack them here. And so the question is just, again, are we going to be forced into conflict, or is there going to be some way to back out and go a more neutral approach? Or, I mean, obviously it's not like we're going to just make peace with the Nilfgaardians altogether right now. That's definitely not going to happen.
Meve, asking you last time, keep a cool head,
Whispered Gabor.
You want vengeance? I get it. But think of the cost. If so much as a hair gets plucked from Owain's head, Bruver will never forgive you, and you can kiss any hope of aid goodbye.
Silence followed, finally to be broken by one of the scouts.
Milady, what's the order? Do we attack?
Alright, so yes, this is the exact decision that we expected to see. Forgo vengeance or attack the Nilfgaardians, and so I've already said what I think we're going to go with here. And again, this just further reinforces that maybe, in truth, there is a difference between the various things that we've done that are either pro Bruver or against Bruver and what he wants to do. And so even if we've done a lot of good things, this might single-handedly be enough to counteract all of them. Might even be an automatic, if you attack the Nilfgaardians here, Bruver will in no circumstances help you. But again, this is just like so blatant in this case. Want your vengeance, I get it. But think of the cost. I mean, again, just like blatant warning here. But if so much of a hair gets plucked from Owain's head, Bruver will never forgive you. We touch a Nilfgaardian's one single hair, Bruver will never forgive us. Nilfgaardians start an avalanche in attempt to kill the Queen of Lyria and Rivia and all of her remaining loyal followers, and that's totally fine. They can just claim ignorance on that. Complete, blatant hypocrisy that, as I said, does, I think, start to detract a significant amount from the story, just because this is supposed to be a really weighty decision, and we're supposed to be really thinking about how do we win Bruver's favor, and Bruver is supposed to be this really important character, but when he just has this so obvious flaw in his reasoning, it's hard to take him seriously. So, I mean, we will forego the vengeance here.
No.
Said the Queen after long deliberation.
But milady,
I know what they did, and that I shall never forget nor forgive.
Said Meve, placing a hand on her scout's shoulder.
But breaking Dwarven law only plays into the Nilfgaardian's hand, causing us to lose allies and our chance for victory.
Meve brushed the snow from her trousers and straightened her spine.
Avenge our comrades we shall. Not here, but in the fields of Lyria and Rivia.
The Lyrians resumed their march with heavy, beleaguered steps. Their path still piled high with the snow brought down by the Nilfgaardians.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're gonna get a morale hit here. Or not? Wow. Okay. So in that case, is it quite literally just nothing? Nothing at all that happens? Out of that, I mean, obviously we're gonna miss out on... But the loot! What about the loot? I mean, of course, if we had attacked them, we probably would have gotten the chance to break through here, get that loot, and the loot from finishing that encounter, but that is not reason enough. That absolutely is not reason enough to potentially squander our chances of getting Bruver's support. So that means there's very little left here. Again, we could double back for this point of interest. I think we might opt to at least get up to high morale here, because at this point we've so many shrines to spare, and I think this point of interest is also a place where it's basically a shrine, or the effect of a shrine, where we improve our morale, but it just costs us some gold, which at this point, of course, is not really necessary when we have all these leftover shrines. So it might be worth stopping back off here, as I said, even though there's not a point of interest there right now, which would suggest that there is nothing we can do there. Just trying to verify, because we theorize, like, maybe there's a delay. You know, if you check immediately, there's nothing, but the longer you wait, the more rewarding it would be, or just in general, doesn't work at all unless you wait a certain amount of time, or maybe it just doesn't work at all no matter what, and that does perhaps appear to be the case here, because I think it was right at this building, and still not seeing anything at the moment. So yeah, it looks like, you know, as I said, technically it was, what, something like 2,500 gold, which seemed like a lot at the time, but given how we lost all of our gold soon thereafter from the avalanche anyway, it really didn't make much of a difference. Maybe we could have afforded one more upgrade before we triggered the avalanche, and we still could have made use of that 2,500 gold, but I don't know. Offhand, I couldn't say if we were about to purchase anything else anyway. So, oh, well, while we're here, why don't we grab that shrine? Because as I was saying, we have shrines to spare at this point, and if the shrines, I mean, this one should count by all accounts, right? My theory was maybe we've actually already prayed at 10 and therefore would have gotten the achievement, but we might have already been on high morale and prayed at some shrines, and for some reason, the way the game is coded, that doesn't count it. But I mean, in this case, no matter what, and that's purely just theory, because it feels like we've already prayed at more than 10, but this case should count no matter what, one would think. And, well, right on cue, I believe that is the achievement right there, so, alright then. That's 10 shrines. And so now we're on high morale, and the idea there was, if we are about to go here, I'm kind of hoping these are two separate points of interest, because to be brutally honest, I don't think I have time today to record for a major main quest update there, and usually what happens is finishing this takes us straight into the next area, and usually there's a fair bit we want to do at the beginning of the next area as well, so we'll see what the deal is with that point of interest. It might just be the sort of forewarning we've seen in the past that says, hey, you're about to leave Mahakam. In Mahakam, you have acquired X number of chests. And that means you do or do not still have some gold chests remaining. Oh yeah, now there's not even a point of interest there anymore, so it's not like we can double back and choose to fight the Nilfgaardians again. Then that makes sense, because it was supposed to be a major decision. So yeah, let's at least see what the deal is. As I say, I am hoping that it is just a significant encounter, well, a point of interest, yes, but distinct and separate from the final one in which we're actually meeting up with Bruver. But we shall see. I mean, there's a chance that it kind of is, but it leads directly into the next one, and there's no real way of cutting yourself off after one of them, but alas, we'll figure it out. We shall see. Little bit of loot to be had here. Not really sure that's going to change much. Well, I mean, take a quick peek. Obviously, with a little more wood, it is slightly more feasible to craft units if we wanted to, but as we said before, that's not really what we're trying to do here. Who needs units anyway? Yeah, we'd still need a fair bit more wood and gold to make these mess tent upgrades. And fully upgraded that. The decrease in the cost of creating units is not a huge concern if we're never going to create units, but in order, or at least not for a very long time, hopefully. What this does do, though, is it unlocks the option to get Palisade, which gives each unit 1 armor, and eventually 2 armor, at the end of the battle. It does cost a lot of wood, but that's a nice little passive bonus that we can still benefit from, even if we aren't crafting units, so getting this upgrade just to gain access to these would still be useful, just not all that feasible in Mahakam, I don't think, when access to wood is so limited. So, don't care too much about gaining access to that stuff either. It's all just units and the movement speed for Meve, which, as we said before, is not a huge deal either. So I think we're pretty good here. Pretty sure we've talked to everyone in the mess tent. No exclamation points there. So I think we're ready to at least see what this point of interest is all about. which means we are
Right, you'd best avail yourself of some onion juice. Even better if you had a wee nip of vodka.
very much approaching the end of Mahakam. And also, is that a thing?
Oh, snotters are frozen solid. Not just those in my beard. Like up my nose too.
Okay, that's a little too much information.
Once we're neath Carbon, we'll find our way to the tavern. Set our arses down by the fire. And sip mugs of mulled wine. Once we're neath Carbon,
Okay,
we'll find our way to the
nothing new there.
tavern. Set our arses down by the fire.
Little more loot.
Sip mugs of mulled wine.
Here is another fast travel spot, which is right at this final location. If we found ourselves in need of doubling back, we could, of course, go here, but I think the only real reason we'd want or need to do that would be if we thought we missed a chest, which I'm still expecting to get that warning before we do that and giving us a chance to double back if needed. Oh, what?
As Meve
Oh!
neared Langbridge, she ordered her bugler to announce her arrival, then retired to her tent to freshen up. Gascon was already inside, awaiting her.
Gascon.
I do not seem to recall summoning you.
In that case, I must tell you to fret not. Nothing wrong with your memory. I've come with no agenda. Spontaneously, call it, to chat.
Okay. What are you on about, Gascon?
Then I propose you leave, just as spontaneously, call it. I must don fresh clothes. I'm to see the Elder soon, and I'd prefer to not smell of horse sweat.
I mean, do we have additional clothes? I mean, Meve has been basically in just... not rags, but... the closest thing to rags that you'll ever find a queen in, ever since we've been kicked out of our own Lyria and Rivia.
Doubt it'd make much difference to him. And be assured, I know what I speak of. When last we met, I found myself standing downwind of him. A pungent experience.
Oh! You've met before. And, also, probably a little too much information. Okay, let's see. Do admit I was reminded of an old goat in more ways than one. Alright, so this is kind of the, alright, Gascon, get on or get out of here. Whereas this is, playing along with him a little bit more. Alright, we'll see what Gascon is really trying to get. I mean, clearly he has a reason for being here. He's just being coy about it, so we'll try to see if we can unearth what that is.
Well, Hugh was saved the experience of his breath. So pungent I thought I might faint.
Well, to revive you, pinch you awake, I'm sure would be quite a pleasure.
Hey, hold on.
Gascon, I beg your pardon. Ugh, I shall have nightmares now.
Not tonight. For I fear you might not sleep at all.
Oh.
You see,
Oh.
there's something you ought to know. And decidedly before you meet with Bruver.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't like where this is going.
The sites we cleared of beasts, I ferreted a bit. Noted something peculiar. Any notion what it was?
I'm not sure where he's headed with this.
None. The monumental dwarven architecture, perhaps?
Bones, my dear Meve. Dwarven bones. Now, guess what I found on them?
Oh, wait a second. The monsters killed a bunch of dwarves, yes. But did the Nilfgaardians, like, put some kind of Lyrian and Rivian stuff there? Like, some sigils or Lyrian, Rivian weapons or armor or what have you to try to frame us, make it seem like we were actually the ones that killed those dwarves, not the monsters? Something like that?
Wait, don't dare give me any hints. Bite marks.
Huh?
Of course. After all, they'd been gnawed clean of all flesh by monsters, incidentally making it quite easy to spot other markings. Ones made by axes and swords. To be certain, I showed the bones to our medics, and they confirmed my conclusion.
That being?
Meaning what? That the entire clan, the Fuchses,
did not perish due to an invasion of beasts from the depths. The monsters merely ate the bodies and occupied empty homes.
So, was it basically a civil war of sorts? The dwarves fighting themselves? Or something else?
Now, I shared my discovery with Gabor, and guess what he did? He panicked. He started to squirm, babble nonsense. I wager my right arm, he's hiding something.
Ah, okay, the dwarves. Continuing with some of their secrets, I mean, clearly, as we saw from the whole avalanche situation, that also made Gabor pretty squirmy. It seems as though the dwarves, I mean, as we highlighted from all their pretty blatant hypocrisy, they have some perhaps not so hidden agendas here.
Blast. Overly eager to aid us from the start he was. I might have sent something.
Okay. But what kind of juicy details do we have?
I shall have him summoned at once. And I thank you, Gascon. I won't forget this.
All right. Well, what do we know? We suspect that the dwarves are up to something, and that Gascon, or rather that basically, Gabor was this guy who was supposed to be this friendly guide who gave the perception that the dwarves were going to be hospitable and kindly, and that we should treat them nicely and do them a bunch of favors, but perhaps that was all just a ruse, a bait and switch. It's like, oh, hey, if we can get Meve and the Lyrians and Rivians to solve all our problems for us and claim that we're going to help them, only to then not do that, we can gain all the benefits from the Lyrians and Rivians and then still proceed to, I don't know, maybe get some rewards from the Nilfgaardians if they proceed to take us out at the end. Something like that. And Gabor knew this and was in on it and was, again, just the one that was trying to give the dwarves a good face.
Minutes later, Gabor stood before the Queen. At first, he tried to mislead her with evasive answers, but as her pointed questions demolished one clumsy excuse after another, he had to give in.
All right, fess up, Gabor. What's going on here?
Hoy. As King Desmond said after a hefty squirt in his hose, we can't sweep this under the rug.
All right, fess up.
If you think I welcome jests in this moment, you err. My fingers itch to summon the hangman.
Gabor, explain yourself.
Right. So. 'Tis true. I misled you. On our clan elder's orders.
Okay, so it's Bruver behind this. It sounds like.
Supposed to make sure you destroyed Burr's Rump and Davor's Abyss thoroughly enough to leave nae a trace.
Okay, yep, as I said, they wanted the Lyrians and the Rivians to do the dirty work for them. And then that way they didn't have to sacrifice dwarves in this dangerous endeavor and claim that they were going to give us support if we did that. But then, at least my theory here, is that once we actually show up, they'll be like, oh, okay, thanks. Really appreciate it now. Be on your way, because the Nilfgaardians are going to give us way more money and resources than you ever would, and we don't actually want to help you, so we're just going to kill you now to guarantee that we get that Nilfgaardian support, and we're going to watch them proceed to take over the rest of the Northern Realms.
What? Why? What did they wish to hide?
They was home to the Fuchses, our mortal enemies. They'd been a boiling our heinies for ages, thumbing their noses, taking what they want when they want, and the Elder-in-Chief didn't gie a ploughing whit.
Or was it more along the Civil War side that we also threw out there, perhaps? Seems like that's more the direction that Gabor is going in here.
So to stop them, our clan, we did the unpardonable. The Zigrin elders saw their chance and they...
What, unleash Keltullus or something like that on them?
Gods. So you were responsible for the deaths of all those dwarves?
Yeah, and or all the other monsters.
Me? I didn't raise a finger. Tried to stop them, in fact.
Okay, well, yeah, hold on. Let's see if we can get some more details here first.
No witnesses survived, meaning you must have murdered the entire clan. How?
Queen, you sure you...
Oh, we need to know the details. Yes.
I am. And you should be sure to answer in full, omitting no detail.
Come on, Gabor.
A few years back, we got pummeled by a horrendous winter. Stone-breaking frosts, whiteout storms, avalanches. Made travelling a painful form of suicide. Hunger drove beasts out of their dens. Pass was covered in the filth. Got to where they paced right outside the walls. Fuchses fought a hard, bloody fight to keep the critters out of Davar's abyss. Lost near every axe-wielding dwarf they had.
Okay, so basically you saw the opportunity to wipe them out because they are weakened by all the monsters? Something like that?
Only survivors had to winter at Burr's Rump. Our elders felt such an opportunity wouldn't knock again.
Okay.
After killing the town's meagre guard, they set fire to it and barricaded the gates. They didn't stand a chance.
Bastards.
Okay, so yes, some kind of civil war between the Zigrin'S and the Fuchses. And so, in truth, it seems like some of the places that we helped rid monsters of and in general kind of sort of destroy were actually places that were part of the Fuchses' territory, and so we assisted the Zigrin'S in truly wiping them out. Okay, yeah, no one investigated this, though? It does seem odd that you were able to sweep it under the rug to that extent. No survivors, no one that at least was able to spread the word? I mean, surely somebody saw that you set an entire place on fire.
How in the world did the truth go undiscovered?
Once it were over, our dwarves opened the gates. Before they'd lit their pipes, starving beasts came crawling out of the pass. The stank of dead flesh was strong.
Okay. So then, once all the monsters showed up, it was easy enough to come up with that as an excuse?
Zigrin'S who came back from that never were the same. If you'd only gandered their gaze when they had us all take a vow of silence. And then...
You invented that blarney about primeval monstrosities the Fuchses had awoken by mining too deep.
Ah.
A tale, and one with a moral to boot.
Aye. But the elders worried Brewer would suspect something all the same. That's why they wanted you to destroy all the evidence.
Okay, important distinction. This is the Zigrin clan leaders who had done this. And so, Brewer is not technically part of Clan Zigrin. He's sort of above that. He's the leader of all the dwarves, not specifically the subcategory within the Zigrin clans. This was the Zigrin subset of dwarves who had done this in their attempt to overpower and eliminate the Fuchses. So, Gabor, or rather, Brewer didn't necessarily have a hand in this, and in fact, the Zigrin'S tried to cover it up so that he would not discover what they had done.
Repugnant.
Okay. So... And then Gabor tried to claim that he tried to stop the Zigrin'S from carrying out this plan, but clearly he did not succeed in that regard.
You claim not to have taken part, but neither did you do anything to stop the massacre.
Yeah, it sounds like you were at least complicit to a certain extent.
What was I to do exactly? The elders had decided. No dwarf would listen to me.
You might have informed the Elder-in-Chief. The guilty would have been punished.
Exactly, and again, the clan elders, being those of the Zigrin clan, they were the ones behind it, but Brewer was not in on this, and so if Gabor were to inform Brewer and make the overarching head dwarf know of this, then perhaps that could have been a way to stop this all from happening.
The guilty? You didn't ken Brewer. He'd punish the whole clan. Women, children, no exceptions.
Yeah, and so if Gabor did that, then he would be, well, frowned upon would be an understatement for sure. Who knows what they would have done to him.
Meve, Queen, I'm begging you. He canna ever learn of this. Aye, I want a hack flame too when I think what the Elder's done. But t'other way it'd bring but more pain and death.
Okay, so yes, we've talked about how my respect, or at least even respect is perhaps a strong word at this point, my opinion of Bruver has dropped precipitously over the past, several encounters, the latter half or third of Mahakam. So, on one hand, that has detracted from the main quest in many ways. On the other hand, now we're getting this different aspect where it's not just about winning Bruver's favor, it's also about, perhaps, weighing the pros and cons of informing Bruver about this civil war of sorts, or this, probably qualifies as genocide, to be honest. Wiping out an entire clan like that. Do we inform him of that? Which presumably Bruver would like to know, but in doing so would make Gabor and the rest of the Zigrin'S, well, as Gabor just said, they'd all get punished. So, probably would have some significant consequences out of that. Alternatively, maybe if we already have enough support from Bruver from the other things that we've done, we might be able to just, keep this one a secret and still benefit from receiving Bruver's support while not having to worry about dragging the Zigrin name through the mud. Okay, let's see. That's some nerve to come begging to us like that. I think we'll at least consider it at this point. And see, once we do get to Bruver, just how much it feels like that could be a swing decision that could sway Bruver toward supporting us or not supporting us. So again, maybe this is a situation where, depending on how much of a margin you have, how many additional good things you've done beyond the number of bad things you've done, maybe you have enough goodwill with Bruver that you can still get by lying / withholding this bit of information from him. Whereas if you're right on the cusp, if you were to withhold this info from him, then that would be the determining factor that could actually make him disapprove of Meve and our efforts and not give us support. So at least for now, I'm assuming we don't technically need to commit from this statement here just yet until we're actually in front of Bruver.
I need to consider what's right. Meanwhile, Gascon, make sure Gabor remains our guest.
What, and doesn't run away? Because, I guess that makes sense. If he was fearful of us ratting him out and the rest of his clan to Bruver, then now might not be a bad time for him to run for his life.
Of course. I'll let you know if he so much as rolls his eyes towards an escape route.
Alright, thanks, Gascon. So, some interesting intel there that, remember, originally came from Gascon. And so, although Gascon has, at times, been, a bit of a troublemaker, he certainly, especially, once he full-on joined the party, he's become, in many ways, a full-blown advisor to Meve, in sort of the counterpart to, Reynard, of course. But let's just take a look at our map here. Was that? Yes, it was the little point of interest that we had here in front of the main quest. So I imagine before we head over here, we'll still get that little pop-up, that little warning saying, hey, by the way, you're about to reach the end of Mahakam. If there's anything else that you want to do in this area, like pick up any more golden or hidden chests, then this is your last chance to do so. Any unfinished quests and what have you. We did check back over here to see if we're going to get any returns on our investment, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know if there are any chests that we missed. As I said, I'm suspicious of this area over here where we went a long way without any chests at all, so maybe we'll see that there's one or two that we have missed, although I felt like we were pretty thorough when we were going through here, despite all the warnings of, oh, don't stray off the path. We proceeded to stray off the path. So that might give us a pop-up of some variety, and also, we were, in the past, making a point of praying at shrines, even if we didn't necessarily need them for the morale boost, just because we knew there was that achievement for praying at 10 shrines, and now that we've gotten that, I suppose that technically means we don't really have a need to double back just to pray at shrines when we're already at max morale. There is also this exchange to get rid of a lot of gold to gain a small amount of wood. I'm thinking that if we're about to leave Mahakam, my hope is that once we get out of here and into the next area that that area is going to be more plentiful when it comes to wood, so that exchange is not going to be as necessary in hindsight. So I think that means we are probably looking at just going straight into this main quest update here. But with that being said, this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, because I imagine that is going to be a big ordeal as soon as that happens, because that is going to be our final confrontation, if you want to call it that, with Brewer. I mean, hopefully it's more of a negotiation rather than a confrontation. But that, with the extra little angle that we just learned, what with the juicy details, the dirty little secrets that we got out of the Zigrin'S, do we reveal that to Brewer, or do we keep our lips sealed? Well, we will see next time. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.